Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Alex Alvern, back again today with another recap episode. Dr. Stone Season 2 is well underway, and since it's been a little while since the first season aired, I figured I'd put together this recap video to help jog everyone's memory just a bit. Now, this is a super high-level summary, so I will be glossing over some of the more specific and small details to try and make this a short and digestible video. So if you feel like I missed anything important, feel free to let me know down below in the comments. And since YouTube tells me that 99% of you watching this video probably aren't subscribers, I'm just going to throw in a shameless plug here and ask that if you do like this video, please feel free to Detroit smash that subscribe button as it really helps me out. Now without further ado, let's dive right in. The series starts at the same place 90% of anime starts, a high school. We're briefly introduced to our main characters, boy genius Senku Ishigami and thick-muscled Chad Taiju Oki. Taiju goes outside and shoots his shot with local babe Yuzuriha Ogawa and confesses his undying love for her. Then, before we can get a reply, bam! Big green light encapsulates the earth and turns everybody into a rock. 3,700 years pass by, and Taiju is finally able to break free using nothing other than his burning desire to plow Yuzuriha, though he might have had a little help from the dripping bat guano in the cave that he ended up in. Taiju sees that his homeboy Senku had already awoken 6 months prior and already made some basic arrangements for food, water, and shelter. The dynamic duo work to find a cure to release people from their stone form and finally succeed in creating a fluid that does so. Having made enough revival potion for a single person, they decide to depetrify the most important person they possibly could, Yuzuriha. Is it because she has great knowledge of science or a talent for survival skills? Nope, but she's hot and hormones prevail over logic 9 times out of 10. Before they succeed, they're chased by lions and decide that security is more important than babes at the moment. Live to bang another day, right? So instead they use the fluid to wake up Tsukasa Shishio, a man with the strength of 100 gorillas and the moral compass of a dictator who went to Burning Man too many times. The dude just crumples the attacking lions and saves the day, but our crew quickly finds out that they've taken down one foe, but introduced a far more dangerous one. In the meantime, they work together, gathering various supplies, and Tsukasa goes apeshit and straight up kicks a petrified dude's face off, essentially murdering him. His logic is that the people of the old world corrupted it, so we should only awaken good people. Senku challenges him on that belief and says, "No way, Jose, we're saving all the humans." Having realized Tsukasa is batshit insane, Senku begins working against him. He says they need to get more revival fluid and sends Tsukasa off to get some, which Tsukasa happily does since he wants to know the source of where to get it. And while he's out, Senku reveals to Taiju that he actually has some left, and they quickly go and revive Yuzuriha. The three of them try to stand up to Tsukasa by shooting a crossbow bolt at him, but Tsukasa easily repels all of them like gnats over fruit. As he doesn't consider them a threat, he just tells them to stay out of his way, while he goes and uses petrified people's bodies as crumbling punching bags. They quickly realize that they gotta get the hell away from this lunatic, pack their bags, and run away while trying to cover their tracks. They arrive at a volcanic hot spring, where Senku reveals his plan for how they'll stop Tsukasa, by building a gun. As they say, nothing will take you out of the Stone Age faster than firearms. Senku makes a bucket of gunpowder, but Blockhead Taiju accidentally ignites it and causes it to explode. This results in a smoke signal, which, on the plus side, caused another settlement of potential survivors to release their own smoke signal, but on the downside alerted Tsukasa of their position. Tsukasa quickly runs to their location and takes Yuzuriha hostage, threatening to kill her unless Senku gives him the secret formula to the revival fluid.
Ravioli, ravioli, give me the formuoli.
Senku gives Tsukasa the formula to save Yuzuriha's life, which basically removed any reason for Tsukasa to keep Senku alive. So Tsukasa karate chops Senku right in the nape of the neck like he's Levi Ackerman out of Attack on Titan, and supposedly delivers Senku a killing blow. Taiju returns from gathering wood and prepares to take on his foe once more, but this time uses brains and teamwork instead of brawn. He throws a giant rock up toward Tsukasa, which takes his attention away from Yuzuriha, who throws all of the gunpowder at Tsukasa as well. When both the rock and the gunpowder land, the rock creates a spark and the entire area explodes, creating the diversion for Taiju and Yuzuriha to grab Senku's body and bolt. They figure Senku always has a plan and wouldn't give up that easily, so they inspect his neck and find a little bit of petrification remaining there, which kind of acts as a bulletproof vest, if you will. They pour the remaining revival fluid onto that petrification in hopes that it would repair his neck in the process of depetrifying it, and before we can see the results, of course, we're thrown into a sentimental flashback of Senku in his first days of the Stone World as he learned how to survive while hunting, gathering, and building shelter while being taunted by asshole monkeys. The revival fluid of course works because plot armor, the thickest armor one could have. It's explained that as the stone is depetrified, It heals whatever injuries the body might have sustained in that specific area of the body. They decide that since Tsukasa thinks Senku is dead, the best course of action is to part ways for now. Senku will go and build a new settlement and look for other civilizations that raise the smoke signal, while Yuzuriha and Taiju join up with Tsukasa as spies. We pivot to Tsukasa, who is attacked by a new character, Best Girl Kohaku, who witnessed Tsukasa killing Senku and wants to invoke justice. Tsukasa, being the Cobra Kai Chad that he is, knocks a tree on top of her and the fight is promptly over. Senku sees the battle from afar and comes to Kohaku's aid once Tsukasa is gone, releasing her from the tree and befriending the next member of his society. Kohaku decides to take this relationship to the next level real quick and bring Senku home to meet mommy and daddy in her home village of some 40 villagers. However, Senku is given the Gandalf treatment as outsiders are not allowed in the village.
You shall not pass!
We're introduced to the village border patrol, Kinro and Ginro, as well as resident Stone Age scientist Chrome, who among the rest of the villagers refer to their basic science discoveries as sorcery. Chrome challenges Senku to a battle of the wizards, and Senku proceeds to mop the floor with him as his science/sorcery knowledge is literally a millennium more advanced than anything Chrome has discovered. However, since they're both equally passionate about science, they become best friends forever. We learn that Chrome has taken up scientific research because he wants to bone fellow villager Ruri, who is coincidentally Kohaku's sister, but she's currently sick with an unknown disease and he probably doesn't want to catch it. Senku gives everyone hope as he explains the amazing accomplishments scientific discoveries have made in the old world and pledges to save Ruri's life by reinventing antibiotics into this world. Our new main character trio of Senku, Chrome, and Kohaku begin the long and complicated process of gathering the necessary supplies and ingredients to make antibiotics. While gathering iron sand, we're introduced to another character named Suika, a gnome who loves melons so much that she wears one on her head. She also is super nimble and eager to help out, so Senku gladly puts her to work immediately because in the Stone Age, child labor laws don't exist. As they try to turn the iron sand into actual iron, they realize that they don't have enough manpower and need to figure out a way to recruit some villagers to help. Suika begins reconnaissance work by hiding amongst the villagers as an unsuspecting melon and eavesdropping on their conversations to learn their deepest desires. She overhears a villager talking about how much he wants to try new foods, so Senku uses his knowledge to reinvent the world's first bowl of ramen. Even though he thinks it tastes like pig droppings compared to the ramen of the old country, the ignorant people of this world eat it up, literally. Senku sets up a food cart right outside the village, which draws a hungry crowd because, again, no regulations requiring food permits exist anymore. Ah, what a simpler time. The villagers fall in love with the ramen at first taste because, let's be real, ramen is fucking delicious. We're then introduced to yet another new character. They just keep coming. Gen Asagiri, a David Blaine wannabe magician of the old world who is depetrified by Tsukasa and sent on a reconnaissance mission to check if Senku is still alive. Senku shows Gen all the cool stuff they've done and convinces him to go double sour on Tsukasa and become a double agent. He joins the squad and helps Senku and team finally succeed in creating iron rods. A lightning storm starts, and Senku takes advantage of the lightning, using it to make magnets, which he then uses to build a power generator. He then convinces Kinro and Ginro to operate it, and subsequently creates the first light bulb this world has ever seen, to the shock, awe, and emotional delight of the villagers and anime viewers alike. Senku pulls in Gen for a real talk, and is like, "Hey homie, are you really on my side?" And Gen's like, I don't know, I'm really just looking for myself right now, so I haven't decided yet. We'll see. That night, when Gen was out at night by himself, he got shanked by a mystery attacker. The crew tends to his wounds while Suika goes into full melon mode again and snoops around the village to find out what happened. It's revealed that a new character, fellow villager Magma, was the one responsible for the attack, and that his motivation is to win the Grand Bout fighting tournament, which would make him the village chief and give him a full access pass to Ruri's box, Chrome's worst nightmare. Kohaku isn't keen on the idea either, and is determined to beat him at this year's Grand Bout like she did in the previous year, and trains Kinro and Ginro to stand a better chance as well. We see that Gen survived that attack and has made his way back to Tsukasa and reveals the findings of his investigation. Senku is confirmed dead. We then cut away and see that Gen promised to give Tsukasa a false report that Senku is nowhere to be found if Senku promises to reinvent his favorite, and also my personal favorite, drink, Coca-Cola. Please drink responsibly. Suiko reveals that she has what they call the blurry sickness, which is really just being nearsighted. Senku the science Chad immediately flexes his brain muscles and makes glass, which he then turns into glasses that he shoves into Suika's melon and allows her to not be half blind for the first time in her life. He then gets the idea to make a science lab using glass to make beakers, but he doesn't got the skill to glass blow properly, as knowing how to do something and being able to do it are two very different things. Chrome introduces the village's old dwarven crafter Kaseki, who reluctantly agrees to help him after not being able to bear the sight of their pathetic crafting skills. Fast forward just a bit and Senku has a pretty sweet science lab stocked with all sorts of glass materials. But as the Science King never sleeps, Senku celebrates by creating a new silver spear for Ginro. But Senku quickly reveals that the gift for Ginro was really just a tool for himself, as they now need to embark on a very dangerous adventure to gather the requisite sulfuric acid for the creation of the antibiotics, and the silver spear acts as a canary in a coal mine type poison gas detector, which will allow them to navigate the resource pool. Senku creates gas masks with carbon filters to be able to get close enough to the pool to snag some acid, and has a super emotional scene with Chrome where he tells him to stay behind so Science doesn't die if Senku dies on the mission. And Chrome becomes the new boss of the series, valiantly telling Senku, "Hey, shut your mouth, we're equals and we're gonna do this together." Highly recommend rewatching this part of episode 12 for the feels effect. They both go to the sulfuric acid pool and things are going well until Chrome trips and falls and Ginro charges in to save the day by catching Chrome with a spear. By the skin of their teeth, or rather, by the cloth of their gas masks, they emerge victorious and collect the sulfuric acid they came for before hightailing it back to their outpost. Next on the list of ingredients that the crew needs to make antibiotics is alcohol, which lucky enough is one of the prizes for the winner of the Grand Bout. With 6 months passing since Senku's arrival at the village, the day of the tournament arrives, and everyone joins in to increase the likelihood of winning. Senku meets Ruri, and she recognizes his name, so she asks about his surname, which is suspicious because in the New World, people only use first names, not surnames. But then she collapses before we get a response, thus raising another mystery for the show. Magma's underling Mantle thinks Kohaku is a threat to them winning because she's really strong, so he kidnaps Suika and ties her to a tree and tells everybody that she's drowning, which forces Kohaku to run and find her, putting her at risk of defaulting her match. Kinro faces off against Magma, but since he's nearsighted like Suika, he struggles to keep up. Suika realizes that Kinro has eye trouble, so she throws him her helmet that has the lenses in it, allowing him to see more clearly, and he starts whooping Magma's ass. Just when we think Kinro wins, Magma tricks him by telling him to talk to the referee to see if his helmet is allowed in the fight. While Kinro's back is turned, Magma shanks him from behind with a sucker punch stick to the skull. Once again, we learn the same lesson in Dr. Stone that we learn in Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Kinro is eliminated from the tournament, and Mantle immediately withdraws from his match as well to make sure that Kohaku doesn't make it back in time before her match starts, which works successfully, and she's disqualified. You know what they say, if you can't show up on time, don't bother. Good news though, is she found Suika safe and sound. We finally arrive at the most anticipated fight of the tournament, Chrome versus Magma. Brains versus Brawn. Einstein versus Conor McGregor. Chrome starts off getting his ass whooped because, let's be honest, he's a bit of a shrimp. But using the power of science, he gets the idea to give Magma's name literal meaning and light the sucker on fire using the lens from Suika's broken helmet. The only problem is that shit takes a long time. So Gen comes to the rescue and pops up out of nowhere, freaking Magma out because he thought he killed him. So Gen's like, "I came back using magic, and I cast a spell on you that will kill you if you move a single inch in the next 60 seconds. Magma, of course, is an idiot, so he falls for it, and Chrome has enough time to set him on fire and Sparta kick him off the mountain, making him the victor. 3 contestants remain in the tournament, with the next fight being between Senku and Ginro. Ginro gets mad thirsty when thinking about the chance to marry Ruri, so he rushes in at full strength, but Senku uses a lucky strike and ball taps him, instantly winning the round. We're brought to the finals of the bout, Senku versus Chrome. Senku knows Chrome has the hots for Ruri, so he's about to forfeit, but Chrome is so worn out from his fight with Magma that he just passes out, resulting in Senku unexpectedly being declared the winner by default. And as the winner, Senku gets a full access pass to marry Ruri, but he immediately divorces her as his motivation was purely the alcohol, because he is a man of science, and not because he's an alcoholic. They use the alcohol and a bunch of other science shit that they've gathered up to finally create the sulfa drug, and they give it to Ruri, curing her of her illness, which was apparently pneumonia. Senku immediately gains the respect of the villagers and is declared chief chief of the village, and learns that the name of the village is actually Ishigami Village, which just so happens to be Senku's last name. Ruri then reveals that she's known Senku ever since she was a wee lass. Another mystery. We dive into some history and learn about Senku's father, Byakuya Ishigami, who is an astronaut that went to the space station with cosmonaut Shamil Volkov and American pop star sensation Lillian Weinberg. They're joined in space by Kanili, Yakov Nikitin, and Daria Nikitina. The big apocalypse event that turned everyone to stone happens while they're in space, giving them immunity and rendering them the last 6 humans alive, making them determined to return to the motherland. They go back to Earth and arrive on an island, live happy lives, and have lots of babies on their crusade to repopulate the Earth. But one by one, they start to perish, as that bitch pneumonia takes mercy on no one. Byakuya writes what he calls the 100 Tales, which is basically just a collection of stories that incorporate facts and advice on how to live properly in an effort to help their descendants, and also hoping that Senku one day finds them. Fast forward back to present day, and Ruri takes Senku to the cemetery where Byakuya and his homies were all buried. The happy-ish ending is short-lived because as soon as they return to the village festival, Gen reveals that Tsukasa is coming with his army to burn and pillage them all. A small strike force of Tsukasa's army arrives almost immediately, being led by Tsukasa's right-hand man, Hyoga. Senku manages to fend them off with a ruse by making it seem like they had already invented guns, causing the attack force to run away. The attackers plan to strike again when there's a storm, because the rain would render the gunpowder useless, and unfortunately it starts to rain just 3 days later. So the attack ensues once more, but even though Senku couldn't invent guns that fast, he was able to invent katanas, which are much better weapons than the primitive spears that Tsukasa's army was using, allowing Team Science to force the attackers to retreat yet again. Hyoga ain't scared, so he keeps fighting, but again managed to sabotage his special spear earlier when he wasn't looking, leading to his defeat as well. The show then dives into the backstory of Hyoga, which isn't nearly as interesting as Senku's dad's backstory, but hey, who needs plot progression? We see Tsukasa resurrect Hyoga because he's his homeboy and Tsukasa wants to get the squad back together like an early 2000s boy band doing a reunion tour. We then find out another plot twist. Hyoga's attack on the village was nothing but a diversion. The true attack was Hyoga's right-hand woman, Homura, sneaking in and setting the whole village on fire. Say what you want about Tsukasa, but the man knows how to prioritize diversity in his rankings. The villagers flee the fire and are out in the open, and now everyone's near the pool of toxic sulfuric gas, so Kohaku and Suika get gas masks and lead the villagers to safety while Hyoga and his men are stuck in a tree to stay above the toxic gas. Senku realizes that their time before getting demolished is running out, but rather than expediting the invention of a Gatling gun, he determines that the true weapon that they need to invent is a mobile phone, because angry birds are more powerful than bullets. Senku and the villagers get to work on making a phone, and step 1 is making wire. And in order to make wire, they build a cotton candy machine, first to test it out with sugar, because apparently that's how you make wires. Cotton candy machines. So they make cotton candy and Senku leaves some out for Homura because it's obvious that she's spying on them and Senku's a good dude. Chrome then metaphorically whips out his wang in an effort to establish dominance as Chief Science Wizard and reveals the big secret project that he's been working on with Kaseki, a goddamned giant water wheel, which simply flabbergasts Senku. The water wheel is a massive win because it can use the power of the river to automate a lot of the manual work that people had to do earlier. Honestly, it's super impressive to come up with something like that on your own, and then actually build it. So then Senku makes light bulbs and throws a bunch of them into a tree so they can all celebrate Christmas. Remember, children, no matter what kind of urgent things you have coming up in your life, like an exam, a major job presentation, or the imminent slaughter of you and all your loved ones, you always have time to celebrate a little bit of Christmas. Everyone gathers on a hill to watch the sunrise of the new year, and Senku realizes that a fancy shining rock that Suika found is in fact tungsten, which is apparently the most heat-resistant metal in the world. I honestly learned so much from this show. Senku needs more of it to make his invention of the vacuum tube work, so he recruits Chrome and Magma to go and search for some with him. They go cavern exploring in search of the tungsten, but quickly fall into a sinkhole and chaos ensues. It looks like Magma tries to kill Senku with the right jab to the kidneys, but we soon realize that he actually tried to save his life by pushing him out of the way before falling into the hole. Senku and Magma invoke the power of communication and talk through their feelings and have a little bro-out session and agree that each of them have their own role to play in the village, putting their differences aside until Tsukasa is taken down. Chrome is able to rescue them out of the hole by pumping water into the hole so they can swim upwards. The crew escapes to safety and finds a giant deposit of tungsten that they mine before returning to the village. We get this heartfelt scene where again surprises Senku that the village worked together to build him an observatory for his birthday. The team continues to work hard and build a phone, and finally they succeed. But then they realize that to test a phone, you need another phone. Doi. They do a mock test by using wires though and see that it's working as expected. Ruri tells Senku one of the 100 tales, which has a hidden message in it from Byakuya, leading Senku to his gravestone where they find a glass record. They don't have a record player though, so Senku simply invents one as a plot device, because we're at that level now where we can just say we need this, so let's just invent it right quick. Recorded on the record was a heartfelt message from Byakuya to Senku since he figured that his genius son would be the first to uncover it, and it finishes off with a song recorded by Lillian, who was basically the Miley Cyrus of their time. The music touches everyone deep in their souls and inspires Senku to bring back all sorts of entertainment like movies, sporting events, and Grand Theft Auto 4. But before the world may live in peace, they must stop the man who is breaking it to pieces. That wasn't specifically said in the show, that's just me being super poetic in my summary. We close the season with a cutaway scene to the main characters that started the series, but we completely forgot about. Taiju and Yuzuriha, who have been playing James Bond in Tsukasa Town for the last 20 episodes. And Season 1. That wraps up my summary for Dr. Stone Season 1. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, please subscribe. I promise I'll have lots more great content for you coming soon. Also, make sure to click that like button, and if you want to interact with me, you can comment down below or follow me in the social medias, mainly Twitter and Instagram, and those links are down below in the description. That's all I got. Thanks again so much for watching. I'm Alex Alvern, and I'll see you in the next one.